Haya. All right, it is exactly 1 p.m. here in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you very much for keeping it TV47, your home of untold stories. You're just in time for news now at 1. But first, let's take a look at some of the headlines. The highlights. Health experts raise fears over the surge in cases of diabetes among children and young people in the country. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has been called upon to cease from dividing the country.
I was with him all the time with the president. Like when we were launching project, and they were always together. You know, it is deceit.
And civil servants in Baringo County have threatened to down their tools following the government's decision to withdraw hardship allowance.
That the hardship should remain in Baringo County.
All right, thank you for joining. I am Sheilar Chelangat. The 30 minutes of this broadcast begins now. We begin where there are fears over the surge in cases of diabetes amongst children and young people in the country. The high cost of treatment is said to make the situation worse, further derailing efforts in fighting the disease. Elizabeth Atieno begins this bulletin for us.
In Kenya, a glaring statistic reveals that approximately 6,500 children and young people under the age of 20 are living with type 1 diabetes. In 2024 alone, about 570 children in this age group succumbed to the disease, while an estimated 1,380 were newly diagnosed.
The numbers that we presented in the report, and I think the numbers that we see in terms of the rising prevalence of type 1 diabetes, I think we also need to see that with the lens of this might be heavily underestimated, because we do know that so many children and young people today, they go either undiagnosed or misdiagnosed.
Health stakeholders have raised concerns over the shortage of insulin among those living with diabetes, especially in Kenya, following the high cost of treatments. Kenya is said to report high level of out-of-pocket payment for insulin.
There's also issues around supply chains. There's also issues around cold chain, which again, for insulin particularly, if you have files, that creates challenges in being able to reach people actually with some of the products, not only in urban centers, but again, particularly in rural communities and that last mile distribution.
Out of the 113 low and middle income countries, Kenya has been ranked the 44th in the prevalence of type 1 diabetes among children under the age of 20.
Even though these initiatives are operating, even though they supply all of these very critical, important products, they are donation-based and they do rely on donations. And when I say that in Kenya, we have had Life for a Child and also Changing Diabetes in Children providing this critical support, it also provides a bit of a fragile system, right? Where at any point support could be withdrawn.
It is in no doubt that we are in the era of unprecedented demand for diabetes care products, with the number of people living with type 1 diabetes projected to nearly double in the next 16 years, reaching 16.4 million globally by 2040.
Something that is very important is for countries to list insulins and commodities within their national essential medicines list to be able to make the case for reimbursement, but also for procurement. And this is the case in Kenya, where this has been implemented.
In 2024, approximately 9.1 million people were living with type 1 diabetes, including 1.8 million children and young people. The numbers are sobering, the voices are real, and the urgency up too is undeniable. Elizabeth Atieno, TV 47.
much, Elizabeth Atieno. Moving on, civil servants in Baringo County have threatened to down their tools following the government's decision to withdraw hardship allowance in two sub-counties, Baringo Central and Mogotio. Unions including NAT Koibatek branch, the Union of Kenya Civil Servants Koibatek and Kupet Baringo have condemned the move as unjustified. Koibatek NAT Secretary General Francis Bundotich called the decision unlawful, citing insecurity, harsh terrain, flooding and poor services in the county. Koibatek Civil Servants Union Secretary General Ambrose Kibet warned that many workers will be financially crippled, saying the government is pushing them into confusion.
The issue of insecurity is a big challenge in Baringo County. So as one of the issues that we are demanding that the hardship should remain in Baringo County and specifically in those areas, those sub-counties that I've mentioned, one of the reasons is that issue of insecurity. The other item is on the climate and the terrain of Baringo County at large. We have areas which experience a lot of flooding. Sometimes schools are closed, sometimes farmers even lose their items or their crops courtesy of flooding.
Secondly, our teachers and our workers have overcommitted their pay slips. And I must say that if this government want to remove that action, let them give us a grace period of 20 years first of all to adjust to what they want. Secondly, in the meantime, they must improve the road network in this country and they must improve the economy of this country.
If you remove that hardship allowance from the base slip, categorically you are sending that person to early grave. One will read the working, they are strained by that the report that they got alone that the hardship allowance is going to be removed. The working alone is stressful.
Possible, you should even think about making it an extreme hardship place. We are demanding that the minister to even apologize for intending to touch on the hardship allowance.
And into the world of politics, a section of political leaders in Vihiga County have criticized former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua for allegedly misleading Kenyans over the performance of Kenya Kwanza government. Speaking in Sabatia constituency in Vihiga, the chairperson of the National Housing Corporation, who is also the former MP for Vihiga constituency, Yusuf Chanzu, has labeled Gachagua's attacks against the ruling UDA party as deceitful and inappropriate, adding the former deputy president was silent while he enjoyed his stay in the Kenya Kwanza administration before his dramatic ouster last year. Chanzu, who served as member of parliament for Vihiga constituency for 2 terms, held consultative meetings with locals across Vihiga County in what appears to be a possible political comeback in the area's political space.
It is now when he's seeing them. I was with him all the time with the president. Like when we were launching project and they were always together. You know, it is deceit. And in fact, by the way the president is saying, the person who got more votes to become deputy president was Kindiki. But you know, president was explaining because he wanted to, because Nani looked slightly older. That's why he was picking on him. But he's just a one-term MP. So that kind of issue, Gachagua should just go. In fact, he should tell us why did he leave when he was a DO? Why did he leave service? He's complaining about Ruto sacking him. And in fact, it's not Ruto who sacked him. It is the parliament. Parliament is the one which voted against him. But he should tell us what happened when he was DO. What happened to relief food? He should tell us.
And moving on, the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, is set to initiate inspection of heavy commercial vehicles, specifically those weighing over 5 tons. Speaking in Diani, Kwale County, where more than 200 cyclists, including children across the coastal region, participated in a 7-kilometer cycling event to mark the end of the UN Safety Week, with a key focus of making walking and cycling safe. NTSA boss Khatib Mwashetani has insisted on collective responsibility to reduce road carnage in the country. Additionally, all border operators have been urged to acquire driving licenses, observe traffic rules and put on appropriate gear. Meanwhile, Kenyans have been called upon to embrace cycling as a way of reducing carbon emissions.
So we have decided as NTSA, the easy way of communicating and sensitizing on the issues to do with safety is by coming together. That for us to be able to reduce the carnages in our country, we have to obey the laws. And that is why our focus is mainly on borders and other motorists. Heavy commercials are not compelled to be inspected. But now we are putting on regulation to ensure that each heavy commercial, because they are amongst the biggest contributors of accidents, that every vehicle, before it finds its way on the road, it has to be inspected.
Accidents are caused because of lack of awareness of the pedestrians or the cyclists next to you who are riding. So we're also promoting healthy, eco-friendly transport alternatives.
Kama wiki ya UN Road Safety Week ambao tumekuwa nao kutoka Jumatatu mpaka sasa hivi imekuwa ni wiki ya kuhamasisha na kuhakikisha kwamba sisi kama washikadau tunakumbushana ili tuendelee kushirikiana kuokoa maisha na kuhakikisha kwamba wale ambao ni most vulnerable ambao chairman amezungumzia ni pedestrians na cyclists wameweza kuwa protected.
The agenda of the president is that we reduce or we minimize fatalities that are brought about by our roads by 50% by the year 2030. If we look at our statistics right now, for us to be able to achieve that, it needs concerted efforts from all stakeholders.
The verification and validation of national government projects and programs in the central region has been marked by a series of strategic site visits by a multi-agency team. The inspection, led by Dan Ameyo, legal advisor in the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the team visited several ongoing government projects in the area, including the new Kenya Cooperative Creameries KCC plant in Nyahururu and affordable housing projects in both Nyahururu and Olkalau, Nyandarua County. The new KCC facility, the team reviewed the progress following a 255 million government investment intended to modernize the milk processing plant.
We are privileged and happy to have been joined by the team from the National Government Coordination Committee, Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and they have visited other counties, and today they are here with us in Nyandarua. They are able this morning to have visited some projects within the Nyandarua.
ACC project in Nyahururu, a wonderful project focusing on one project, milk product UHT, and they have really appreciated the assistance that the government has given them. It has enabled them to buy machines. It has enabled them to expand the storage facilities, and they are quite.
And away from that, Cabinet Secretary for Public Service Geoffrey Ruku has called on the judiciary to prioritize the resolution of tax-related disputes, asserting that speeding up these cases could unlock billions of shillings currently held in litigation. He noted that the funds are urgently required to ease Kenya's fiscal constraints and support critical government services, including those within the judicial system. The CS made these remarks at the official launch of the judiciary's 2023-2024 Performance Management and Measurement Evaluation Report, the Judiciary Service Delivery Innovations Report, and the e-Judiciary mobile application at the Supreme Court. Grounds Chief Justice Martha Koome, who presided over the event, lauded the judiciary's digital transformation journey despite the challenges of understaffing shortages, infrastructure deficits, and limited funding.
We have, as a judiciary and the Judicial Service Commission, consistently raised concerns regarding underfunding and the recurrent budget cuts that have hindered the full implementation of our core programs. I therefore take this opportunity to urge our partners, to urge even our executive and our parliament to enhance our budgetary allocation to enable us optimally deliver on our mandate and serve the public.
As public officers, we have a duty to continually innovate and transform systems and processes to increase the levels of efficiency, effectiveness, and responsiveness to the needs of the people of Kenya. The judiciary is the cornerstone of democratic governance and the rule of law in Kenya. It plays a very important role in ensuring cohesive and progressive Kenya. Therefore, the judiciary must be a well-functioning institution and a system in order to build bureaucratic trust and confidence in public services dispensed.
All right, moving on, construction companies have been forced to adopt innovative measures to reduce the cost of building in a bid to make home ownership more affordable. Speaking during the issuance of title deeds to homeowners in County, the managing director of Woolston Homes, Egidio Kinyanjui, emphasized the importance of government support in these efforts. He urged the state to consider reducing taxes levied on construction materials, which continue to drive up the cost of building. Industry players say the combination of local innovation and policy support is vital to sustaining housing development and meeting the growing demand for affordable houses across the country.
Pro has been affected quite a big way. And I think people have no surplus in terms of expenditure. So the spending power is a little bit low compared to other years that we've been in the business. And now, as being in this business for the last 8 years, I think we've seen the graph take different trajectory in terms of the curve. But in the recent time, I think it's tough everywhere. But again, when it is tough everywhere, you get tough. There is a thin line in between protecting the client and protecting the company. But again, there are measures as a company we have endeavored to do. Like if for instance you're hiring equipment to work on a certain particular project, instead of hiring, buy it yourself so that you reduce that cost. Again, there are some things that we have to build for ourselves or make for ourselves, like concrete products, e.g. the example of curb roads, drainage channels, road curbs, all those, we are manufacturing them ourselves. So it is reducing the expenditure. And again, if you're outsourcing, you reduce the middleman in between. You outsource from direct the supplier.
All right, and moving away from that and still on the same, stakeholders in the construction industry have warned that the high cost of construction materials in the country could lead to the rise of substandard buildings. This comes following a recent report by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, which indicates that the construction industry has taken a hit with a noticeable slowdown in the building activities. Speaking during a groundbreaking event for bungalows and mansionettes in Kiseri and Kajiado County, Crispus Wachira, the managing director of Almond Estate Company, echoed these concerns, noting that the ripple effect is already being felt in the rate of home ownership across the country. He further urged the government to review electricity costs, saying this would help to reduce the cost of manufacturing construction materials.
We want to urge this government to look at a few issues, namely the cost of construction materials. This is because when the cost of materials is high, then ultimately the end product, the price goes up. And what that means is that there is an element of inability to acquire a home. And so we would urge that the government looks at the cost of material. Secondly, we would want to ask the government to look at the components that cause the cost of materials to go up, namely the cost of power. Because when power is at high cost, then it means that manufacturing where cement and iron sheets and all these other materials, including steel, are processed, the cost of production is high.
Hii tax imechangia kazi ya construction, imeipeleka chini sana, sababu by the time unafanya quotation au unafanya budgeting ya tuseme 2.5 na ulifanya after a month, Ukishaingia uende after 3 months utapata budget ishakuwa juu, tax ishakuwa juu. Na ukienda kuambia client pesa imepanda juu, pengine anaona ngumu wa kukupea hiyo kazi, anatafuta fundi mwingine ama kampuni nyingine inamfanyia kazi. Inakuchangia sana wewe kupoteza kazi. Alafu pili, usipoipoteza kazi upatiwe ile budget ya 2.5 million, utahakikisha umefanya vile utaweza. Hata kama utajenga vizuri, zile material ambazo utatumia ndio upate kujenga nyumba, ndio upate angalau kitu ya kuweka kwa mfuko.
Kakamega residents, more so from estates, have a reason to smile after community-based organization Shofco Sacco Limited opened its branch in the county in an effort to extend financial empowerment beyond urban slums into rural areas through community-based savings and credits. Speaking during the launch, the Sacco chairman Kennedy Odede said the expansion marked a significant milestone in providing accessible financial services to underserved communities across the country. The community-based savings and credit enable people living in slums and rural areas who have limited access to traditional banking services to get much-needed financial services.
Shofco Sacco is needed to be more than just a financial institution. We are a partner in your journey. We offer affordable credit, safe savings, investment, opportunities, and above all, about trust. We are introducing customized product for women. Wababa mko? Tuko na product zenyu. Umesi. Tuko na youth, tuko na watu wa biashara, and then we ensure no one is left behind. Wow. As a national leader, our role is to expand access to enforcement, good governance, and driven innovation. This law today reflects our commitment to decentralizing services, empowering individuals, and ensuring every Kenyan, regardless of where they live, can benefit from Shofco Sacco movement.
And away from that, since the onset of devolution, residents of Kayole Estate in Naivasha have never had a market, despite numerous calls for construction of one. Now the residents have resolved to construct one by themselves to alleviate stress of market access. Willie Dennis Njiru reports.
Kayole Estate along the busy Naivasha-Nairobi highway has witnessed a surge in population in the last 1 decade. And since the inception of the new constitution, there has been calls for the construction of the market, but there is none so far.
Hii soko yetu ndio soko ya kwanza kabisa Lakeview, hatujai kuwa na soko. Viongozi wamekuwa wakiingia wakitoka, lakini hawajai tupea soko.
Soko ikiwa hapa itaweza kukava na kusaidia watu wengi ambao wako katika hili eneo. Pia hawa wananchi wataweza kusaidika sana ambao wameweka hii soko hapa ndani na kufanyia kazi.
The residents have, however, resolved to lease 2 plots to aid the plight of long distance to the Naivasha main market to access the farm produce in an area that is densely populated.
Tumekuwa tukingangana sana tuone vile tutapata soko huku, lakini tunashukuru Mungu sana kwa sababu tumepata soko.
Kama kuna mtu mwingine ako na jambo ambalo anaweza kusaidia wananchi, tunamkaribisha hii area yetu. Kwa sababu Kayole ndio town ambayo inakuwa sana katika Nakuru.
This comes days after Deputy President Kithure Kindiki visited the town with a promise to construct one, which the residents say there is no land allocated for the construction.
Nakuru County, masoko yale yanajengwa ni masoko 17 na mengine 6 yako katika utaratibu wa kupangiwa ndio yaanze.
Anaposema ama kiongozi yoyote kusema na kutenda ni mambo mawili tofauti. Pia mimi siwezi nikapingana na hiyo, na ninafurahia sana ikiweza kuja, maana itasaidia the same people na kwa njia kubwa. Lakini swali ni je, hawa wananchi si wako na masikio?
The over 140 market traders benefited from the stalls, expressing optimism of business opportunities following the centralization of a central market access point.
Wameanzisha mpaka vikundi za merry-go-round hapa ndani, kumaanisha wanaungana na wanatoa pesa ili waweze kusapotiana.
Huku tunateseka sana wakati mvua inaponyesha. Kwa hivyo ningeomba ya kwamba vile ambavyo Kihoto kuna rami, vile ambavyo Lakeview kuna rami, Kabati kuna rami, Karagita kuna rami, hata Kayole tunahita.
For TV47, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
Thank you, Njeru. Now to Nakuru County, where churches from across Nakuru County and missionaries have joined hands in a tree planting exercise on the streets of Nakuru City in collaboration with the county government in efforts aimed to conserving the environment. The exercise, led by Pastor Alex Maina, also involved cleaning up bushes along the streets, the church taking the role of environmental conservation by leading from the front. According to the clergy, environmental conservation is biblically ordained duty of all humankind. Pastor Maina adding that this is necessary in the wake of climate change across the globe.
Tunataka kupanda miti katika mji wetu tukiungana pamoja na kaunti yetu ya Nakuru. Lengo letu ni tunapofanya vile tunatengeneza mazingira yetu, na pia tunahimiza watu, hata watu wa makanisa, kwamba pia wahusike katika mpango wa kutengeneza their environment. Tukitaka pia kuhimiza hata washirika wetu wa makanisa na watu wote katika nchi yetu ya Kenya waweze kuangalia mazingira yao. Zaidi ya hivyo, tunafanya hivyo tukiwa watumishi wa Mungu, pia tukiombea kaunti yetu, tukiombea nchi yetu,
na tukawe watu ambao pia wanaombea nchi kama nchi yetu ya Kenya. Siku ya leo tuko hapa kwa sababu ya mambo ya mazingira. Tunapanda miti tukiungana pamoja na wafanyikazi wa kaunti hii ya Nakuru. Tunaelekezwa jinsi ya kupanda miti katika mji huu wetu wa Nakuru. Mungu ameagiza watu wote waweze kuwa watu wa kutunza mazingira, kama ishara ya kwamba Mungu angetaka tutunze mazingira kama kanisa.
We'll be doing this, and these 10 days are set apart to bring the church together and the government workers, and especially the Department of Environment, to be able to make sure that the city of Nakuru is blessed.
It is our responsibility as a church to make sure that wherever we live, mazingira yako sawa. Tunahitaji mvua, tunahitaji clean air, na hii ni yetu. The pollution ambazo zinaendelea, tunapopanda miti tunajua kwamba tutaweza kupata mazingira ambayo yako sawa.
All right. Let's get sporty. Kenyan basketball champions Nairobi City Thunder were absolutely demolished by their hosts APR Rwanda in their first appearance in the Basketball Africa League. The debutants got blown out 92 points to 63, with Aliou Diarra the star of the show, registering an impressive 21 points and 12 rebounds, as well as 6 blocks. The Brad Ibs-led side will be hoping for a better showing in their second match today when they lock horns with giants Al-Ahli Tripoli of Libya at 3:30 p.m. Kenyan time.
Back out, and there's a long-range shot. Oh, come on! David.
Watch his abilities.
I want to... Oh, come on, Diarra! Dynamics!
Dynamic Aliou Diarra.
Randall. Will Davis back on the floor. It's into the path of Noel. Seller! He wants the screen. Goes down and kicks it out. Randall for three! That is sumptuous. Played in the AfroCan 2023. That was his first call-up for the national team. Played all 9 games for the City Thunder. And how about that? Rolls back out for Aliou Diarra. There's a chance. That's great work.
And Crystal Palace secured the first ever FA Cup title in their 164-year history after